Citizens of the world, the empire of the rising sun has risen. The day of our destiny has arrived. Do not struggle against what is inevitable. The Soviets resisted and suffered for their arrogance. Do not make the same mistake. Survival is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. Life or extinction. It is up to you.
Welcome back to Ultimate Admiral's Dreadnoughts. The Emperor has made a grand statement to the world after our defeat of the Soviet Union. And the relations with the world are collapsing. And so today's mission is to build a light cruiser and the next generation of battleships and destroyers to counter the threat posed by the rest of the European nations. Today we're building a 9,000-ton scout cruiser using the experimental torpedo hull design. We're adding in 3 fore turrets and 2 rear turrets with 6-inch guns. The turret arrangement is inspired by the HMS Dido, but we're going all in on torpedoes. And the plan here is to have so many torpedoes that she counts for 2 destroyers herself. So this ship is going to have a spread of 16 torpedoes per side. It's going to be very fast at 36 or 37 knots. For this design, I'm not too worried about engine efficiency. The ship will still have 1 knot per second, and we're going to free up some deck space by having less funnels. It may have an impact if she gets hit and takes damage to the funnels, but mostly we're going with the same doctrine here, is that she's going to run in with the destroyers and dump obscene amounts of torpedoes. And with this design, we're going to experiment with the electric torpedoes, which have a lower detection range, but a much slower speed. We'll see if a mass amount of highly invisible torpedoes will have more effect. The ship will have maximum armor allowed by the hull, which is only 2.5 inches, and we will have the best coincidence rangefinder, which is good for close range gunnery. We'll have hydroacoustics and a radio direction finder. Also adding in mine layers and depth charges to add in some of that campaign map support that they can offer, and so we don't lose any battleships to mines. It's going to be called the Euro-class Scout Cruiser, and I'm excited to get her out into the oceans and see what she can do. My plans for this design are to use them in packs of 2, so we can potentially drop 64 torpedoes, and we're also going with maximum torpedo reloads so that they can continuously just reload, cycle them out of the battle, come back in for another crazy swarm. This will become the staple light cruiser of our fleet, and I will build probably 1 or 2 for every single fleet we have, as well as some to just garrison in local ports where we need to blockade. These things will be absolutely murderous against the troop convoys, which I just constantly fight. But they are such easy battles that I do not show them. Well, let's move on to the next design. This is the Karukea torpedo class destroyer. We've got access to a new hull, so we're going to see what we can come up with. Bit of deck space here. I'm looking forward to getting some twin turrets for the destroyers, but for now, let's just throw lots of singles on there. That won't be their final design. I have some plans for them when they get the double turrets. We're also going with, what have we got here? We've got 12 torpedo spread with a reload. So they will move in at 40 knots, dump their torpedoes, run away. 21-inch torpedoes, fairly large, the largest that we can field. We're going with the standard propulsion. And I'm going to remove the mines, the minesweeper, and the depth charges from this class of ship because they are an attack class, and we will have our fleet destroyers to defend from those threats. Going for maximum range where we can. A little bit of a strange looking ship. All of our torpedo attack destroyers have a 4-inch armament, and we will put the nice little forward facing rear turret arrangement I've become fond of on my torpedo attack destroyers. They don't really need to shoot so much when they're running away, but we want as much firepower directed at our foe as we can. I've tried to keep the torpedo launchers evenly spaced so that the spreads of torpedoes come off the ship at different angles. Also making sure to have all of the torpedo launchers facing forward so they have less time to rotate towards their target as we approach. We have light shells to save on weight, and I think that's about done. 12,000 kilometer range, very nice looking ship. The next generation of fleet destroyer will use an identical hull. So we just copied the design, but we've just changed the armament. So we're going with a 5-inch armament. We've got 6 guns, all facing forward, and we have just 6 torpedoes. And they will be fast-running torpedoes. Again, because she's a fleet destroyer, she's going to run out to threats that are very close, and we want to make sure those torpedoes can land. And she doesn't need as many, because her job will be to screen destroyers and torpedo boats away from our capital ships. Also having the extra support elements like mines, minesweepers, and depth charges. Someone asked me to to slow down my shipbuilding, but I just have to say, for example, this Hattori class refit, I spent 2 hours just shuffling around and testing how the new layout of the ship would be. I don't like the look of the new 4 gun turrets. I don't think they're very good looking. They're very, very square. I was very fond of the previous layout, but this is what we settled with. Way more 13-inch guns, all in 4 turret arrangements, as well as the 3 turret arrangements at the front, just to keep the ship balanced. But we have a fair amount of displacement left over, so I went with a 13-inch armor belt, and we also slowed the ship down a smidge. Sadly, I didn't get to build many of the Fuso class. We have 1 in the fleet, so hopefully that will see some action. And now it's time to build a big boy. Something to rival. Something to make our last ships look small. So we're going with a 30-knot design, and we're going to push 100,000 tons, which is quite the milestone. So if anything, this is going to be a super large ship just for the sake of breaking a record. And we have access to modern towers now, making the Japanese ship look pretty sleek. I wonder if we will see more pagoda masts. I haven't seen many of those yet. There's a couple available, but not for this hull. This ship is going with a 6 turret, 4 gun arrangement of 15 inches. So it'll be one of our biggest calibers fielded so far. The technology is not great for 15-inch guns, but I think we need to make a statement. The turret layout here is reminiscent of the Mogami class. I do like a rear-facing turret. I did realize that facing a turret backwards without having the barbette there to protect it is a pretty bad idea, so I ended up changing the front gun arrangement. I deleted the Z turret because I felt like it extended the citadel too much. So we're going with a pretty contemporary looking design. And already we're pushing mass almost 100,000 tons, 30 knot speed, running on oil and geared steam turbines. So most of that mass will be machinery and the extensive armor belt. So we're going to widen the ship a little bit, trying to fit some guns on the side. And also now we've managed to squeeze the displacement up over 100,000 tons. So this ship is just literally breaking records, world records in our fictional world war we're having. The rear turret, like I said, reminiscent of the Mogami heavy cruiser. And hopefully adequately protected by the turret and barbette in front of it. I was hoping to put our signature 8-inch secondary gun arrangement, but unfortunately this tower doesn't allow much space on the deck despite being as wide as possible. So I've decided to go with a 6-inch secondary arrangement, which coincidentally complements the 5 inches that can fit on the superstructure itself, which has various amounts of mounts for different sizes, which I thought was pretty cool, but then it gives me less to work with in times of side deck. I like all my ships to be pretty symmetrical, and these little mounts here just refuse to go on straight, so we had to hold shift and do it manually. And there we go, 6-inch triple turrets all down the length of the ship, with overlooking 5-inch turrets and 3 inches on the main superstructure. 14-inch armor belt, slightly thinner than our armament. I can't speak today. Most of our ships have that feature, I guess you could call it, we have big guns and slightly lighter armor, because as of yet we haven't fought anyone that really contests us. But I have a feeling that we're going to be embroiled in a very, very vicious war shortly. And so, to make a grand statement, the new class of battleship, the 100,000-ton battleship, shall be called the Executioner. Next up, we have a very interesting hull shape. I believe it's the Yamato's hull shape. So we're going to make something to complement our Hattori class, something off the shelf and wacky. This one will have a 28 knot speed, which will be our standard battleship speed. Like the Executioner that we just built, we are using a 15-inch armament. Look at the amount of guns on that. I really wanted to take advantage of the sloped deck to try and get 3 tiers of guns, but the barbettes just would not cooperate. Putting on the 3-inch guns on the superstructure, 8-inch guns on the sides. Predominantly forward-facing arrangement, and we will trim down the amount of turrets. I was just being silly here. I spent about an hour and a half on this ship as well. Triple hull bottom, we want to keep this ship nice and safe. And that will give us displacement to work with later if we need it. Look at that, 110,000 tons. Raising the deck a bit to try and get more slope out of that forward forecastle out the front there. But unfortunately, I still just couldn't get it to work. So you would think that from this angle and at range, she could get all of those guns on target. But the game says that they have blocked fire angles, except that very top one. We've basically broken the displacement record straight away with this new ship. So we're going to put a lot of armor on her. 15.5-inch armor belt, a 4 belt. I'm just going to even it out a bit because look at the 4-weight offset. So we have to do some juggling with our armor thicknesses here to make the ship balanced. And she does have a bit of pitch and roll due to those wing turrets right on the nose. And the rear turret will be 888s. We didn't have any space here to put a large caliber gun. But the theory is that if she has to run away, we've already probably lost the battle anyway, and should be shooting at little boys. I've given the ship electro-hydro turrets to help with their rotation speed, but unfortunately I couldn't get the faster reload, so that may happen at the next refit. The finishing armor thicknesses are 7-inch on the 4-belt, 12-inch main deck because there's so much of it. I figured that would be a large weakness, and so let's have some crazy deck thicknesses. 10 inches on the 4, 12 inches on the main deck, the aft belt is 7 inches. And I managed to get an aft weight offset somehow by moving the funnels around and juggling those armor thicknesses. So this is the Tsunami class battleship.
You disapprove?
Father, we should not have given the Allies the option of surrender. We should have attacked without warning and annihilated them.
They will not resist, my son. Not after seeing our crushing of the Soviets.
But Father, we have intelligence from my spy. Deep within Allied command, they are planning an attack on our base.
The Italians thought it would be a good idea to attack one of my battleships in transit, and so now we're at war. Let's go, Italy. Bring it on. Fairly decent sized Italian navy about to attack. I'm pretty sure these are my Block 5 Yamatos. Just come out of refit. So they're ready to test out the weaponry. Oh baby. And we also have the Itago class battle cruiser. This ship was built to counter my own tactics of torpedo boat rushes. She is very, very sturdy. The Italians opened fire just before we saw them. So I have a feeling that my ships are probably very detectable. That seems to be happening a lot. We're getting shot at first, despite having what seems to be better technology. Tidying up the fleet destroyers out the back. We've got our battle cruiser and one of our old light cruisers just still chilling in the fleet. And the battle cruiser has torpedoes, but only single launch tubes underwater. Right, the battleship line is turning to get the guns on target. Still haven't opened fire yet. There we go. Very tight grouping there. Let's see if it strikes home. Would love to get a hit there on that lead ship. Doesn't look like it. Ooh, bit close, bit close. Alright, we're charging the battlecruiser just straight down the center. Destroyers are hanging back this match. We're going to use slightly different tactics. The Italians have 6 destroyers we need to be concerned about, and we don't know their ship designs yet. We've managed to get hits on our battleship. Light damage. The Otago class battlecruisers have 9-inch guns, 4-inch guns, 2-inch guns all around. She should open up any second now. We're just going to use her to sort of draw aggro. Try and kite some torpedo launchers. So that we don't inevitably run into those torpedoes. Just taking a couple of hits. That was blocked by her armor. We gave that ship maximum armor across all of its statistics. And I was hoping that it would protect it from up to 8-inch gunfire. As well as from all of those light caliber secondaries on the larger warships. And they all want her. Another one blocked. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come for this class. Her first combat action. She's on fire. That's not good. We have to be pretty violent with the maneuvers to try and keep their aim off. We're not too concerned about actually scoring hits on the big ships. We're letting the battleships do that. But Ricochet, that's another good sign. So far, the design is living up to its... yeah, you know what I mean. It's living up to its design. Been played a lot of this game. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say that the majority of it's been spent ending my turn. Because it doesn't have the best end turn times. But that's okay. The combat itself is enjoyable. But there are very, very large periods of time where nothing happens and you just spend looking at fleet spreadsheets trying to figure out what you've done. Building ships all over the globe. I have a better grasp of the shipbuilding now that I've realized you can designate the port that they're built at. Previously, all of my destroyers were just being built at ports wherever they were free. Which worked okay for destroyer fleets, but when I was trying to build my flagships, and they were on the other side of the planet to where I wanted them to be. Again, that's just a skill issue for my first campaign. Destroyer line, pushing in, fleet destroyers. So they only have a light torpedo armament. Lead ship's taking a big hit there. There's also the lead ship of the class, the Urikazi. They are fairly sturdy. They can take 1 or 2 hits. We have aimed for survivability with our designs. At least as far as I think I've got a grasp of the mechanics now. Torpedoes out on the Urikazi. Fortunately, she was already turning away. She managed to get her fish off too on the enemy battlecruiser, and those are looking like good. Looking like they're good. Our battleship line is getting a little bit close for comfort, especially with those what appear to be very fast running torpedoes. Italy may have spent a bit of money on torpedo research after hearing about our own successes with that tactic. Oh, we just managed to dodge that torpedo there in the smoke with our destroyer. Let's slow down our battleships just a tad so they don't run into that spread that are heading straight for them. Flash fire on the enemy battlecruiser. believe she's been hit by torpedoes. We've had 3 strikes with torpedoes. Managed to shoot down one of the Italian battle destroyers as well. She's sinking. Again, the battle cruiser, the Otago class, is still drawing fire. Enemy formation is turning away. And our own battleships managed to let those torpedoes travel in front. Otago pushing in hard on these cruisers. Trying to see the durability of the ship. She hasn't taken many hits. And the hits she's taken have been pretty insignificant. Fire is an issue, but the crew should be able to get that under control. We are trained up. We have taken a few crew losses. That might be the weakness. Battle cruisers now taking pot shots with the main gun. Just a constant stream of fire coming from the Otago. The light caliber guns. Rapid reload on the 2.9 inch guns as well as the 2 inch guns. We're not aiming for accuracy so much as volume of fire. She is starting to take a few hits now. We're turning away. Her one weakness is slightly lower armor in the rear, so she will have to be careful through this turn. But just look how close she got to them. I'm pretty impressed with that. We don't want to throw her away though. They will only be built in limited numbers. And as long as they're shooting at her, they're not shooting at our expensive battleships. Completing that turn, presenting broadside, which is not good for those armor-piercing rounds coming straight at her from the heavy cruiser. We've also got fish inbound. Now we've got plenty of warning. There's no reason why that should hit us. Might break this one off, just to make certain. The battle cruiser is extracting. She's managed to drop a very angry fish out of her rear. A stern fish, as someone in the comments once said. DDs have been thrown into disarray by that one torpedo. That was the avoid torpedo order for a millisecond. It's way too late to be doing voiceovers, but I'm doing it anyway. The grind is real. If you appreciate the grind, make sure you hit the like button, and I'll continue to bring you this exhilarating content into the future. Battle cruisers are turning away from us. They don't like that one torpedo. That gives us some more time. Our battleships are now moving away from the combat zone. Battlecruiser is still taking fire. She has generated a lot of threat. Extra benefit of that is the destroyers are also kept safe. Got decentralized fire attacking all targets. And we've just moved out of sight range of that destroyer in the smoke. So it's time to turn the Otago back in for another run. 6 9-inch guns. Someone said that the 9-inch guns are very good. So this is also a test in that. I've managed to push them away. Now it's just a slugging match. Their battle cruisers haven't posed much of a threat. I think our battle cruiser is the only one that's taken hits. Oh, one of our destroyers too. It's being knocked about a bit. Speaking of destroyers, we have one making an attack. Dropping smoke with our own destroyer screen. Try and hide our battleships. But all it's done is hide them from us. More than enough 8-inch guns to deal with this threat, if given the time to track them properly. Ooh, this one is a torpedo destroyer. She's got reloads. Let's send her in. You can tell by the 4-inch guns. We also have a lone destroyer out there running smoke support, trying to screen our fleet from their battle cruisers while we deal with the destroyer threat. And as soon as this battle's over, I should go to bed. Probably come back and finish off the episode tomorrow morning. It is one of those games where you design a ship, you spend 20 turns building it, you finally get into a fleet, so then you want to fight someone to test it. So you find yourself doing 50 turns longer than you should. I feel like they're sending one ship at a time towards us to try and get line of sight. And I have a feeling that if I can get rid of the rest of their screen, we may have the advantage. I mean, we already do have the advantage, having battleships over battle cruisers. Akatsuki has fired off her port torpedo. Let's come around and fire the starboard ones. Mini Gomu class destroyer. One of the older designs now, built in the early 1900s. It seems this fleet was drawn out of a port. They weren't actually assembled as a fleet together, so they're a bit of an eclectic collection of destroyers. I've been trying to keep the same destroyers together, and I've been trying to put my older ones in ports just to do cargo, harassment, those sorts of things. Akatsuki has taken a hit. The Italian ships are very slow. That is not a battle cruiser, my friends. 20 knot speed. I mean, it's doing a good job on our destroyer here, Akatsuki. Oof, taking more damage. But my battleships will easily be able to run these guys down, and I think we may do that. This cruiser changed its mind and is running away. One torpedo is all it took for it to turn around and head for the hills. Akatsuki has sunk. It did serve faithfully, that ship. That was not its first action. Battlecruiser at the back doing well. Superficial damage. It will require time in port to fix. But largely that proved our concept. Oh, don't you love it when you look at the right spot at the right time? Big hits. The Stabia. Think we have her dialed in. We might be a bit more aggressive and head in. They still have a screen. As you can tell by the clouds of smoke there, 3 destroyers. As long as they use the smoke away from us and not while they're charging, that keeps me happy. But from what I've seen of the AI, as soon as we kill their escort, they will just charge at us. Shooting at the rear ship, trying to break up their formation. High explosive shell ricocheting off the deck. Weather is terrible. I think the mist is going to save the Italians today. Let's see if we can get some final hits in. I don't like playing in low visibility. It's not very exciting. And to have good tactical awareness, you have to be zoomed right out and you just can't see anything in terms of the action. I've got a destroyer out here, pinned. I must have let them go off in the wrong direction for too long. The weather is not helping our gunnery at all. Trying to close the distance now. We've managed to sink one of the battle cruisers. But I have to keep in mind there are still destroyers lurking in the mist, and they could be here at any moment. But that's what it looks like outside at the moment. That weather. I played way too long. So now I'm going to have the equivalent of a gamer's hangover. Pretty much point blank range. The weather has made it hard to be excited. So we're going in for the kill. We are taking hits now that we've negated our armor advantage. But this battle's been going way too long. That cruiser is going to become trash on the bottom of the Mediterranean. We are turning away just in case of torpedoes. Our lead ship is a bit exposed here. The Urikazi has no torpedoes left, but she can still present a bit of a threat. Quite a sturdy cruiser, this one. They definitely armored it. We had to turn our battleship away because it was taking a bit too much damage for my liking. Starting to get solid penetrations now that we've switched to exclusively AP. That's better. The 8-inch AP is still bouncing off their armor. Not that time. Whoa, massive damage. That cruiser's screwed. Now let's chase down the others in the mist. Uh-oh, we have fish. The Arky needs to turn hard to starboard right now. She's still going to take it. It's a fast-running torp. Ooh, two of them hidden. That's actually significant damage. We need to hope that fire doesn't catch on the magazine. Running the Urikazi in is trying to distract their other destroyers and try and pull out their torpedo launchers. The Arky's going to have to turn away. So they're certainly more effective now that we've closed the range. But I just couldn't stand to be out in the mist anymore, shooting at little specks. Battlecruiser Otago coming back in. She's taken 52 hits, but only 3,000 damage. That's pretty impressive. Still green across the board. Bit of flooding near the rudder. Urikazi, I can't say the same for her. She's in big trouble. But it looks like she may take down an Italian with her. Arky is flooding. Enemy destroyer is sinking. That one just took a full spread of torpedoes from them. They're friendly, I think. The battle cruisers have torpedoes as well. That one took big hits from the 8-inch secondaries of our battleships. Closer than we want to be with our battle cruiser. One of our battleships had to pull out of combat. They were too badly damaged. They're still offering fire support, but they're not in the thick of it. Oh, that's another good one. That's going to get us, I think. I should have stayed at speed. Now it's going to hit us amidships. No, it's going to hit us in the stern. Should have stayed at speed. That's unfortunate. Urikaze, a lead ship of the class, has sunk. The sacrifice will not be forgotten. Managing to get right in the face of an enemy battlecruiser. Her smoke generators obscuring the view. As we get later into the campaign as well, the game is slowing down a bit. I was trying to track all of the guns. Certainly doesn't feel as polished as Age of Sail, and they're vastly different games. Age of Sail is a very adventure type game. Oh, our battlecruiser took a massive hit. We'll have to turn her out of combat. The Italian battlecruisers are listing heavily to starboard. But we need to get our battlecruiser home to see another day. I was too busy complaining about other games, or this game. And I didn't watch my battlecruiser get smashed. Pushed her too far in. Damaged battleship is still lingering in the area. But I think we're pretty much done. You're done anyway, Italiano. The Aurora is definitely done for. There'll be plenty more of that to come. Now the idea is to kill the Italians before we go to peace ever again. So that way they will never be able to build a better class of ship. And we will take the entirety of the Mediterranean. And the Austro-Hungarians are thinking, wow, our bitter enemy have been defeated. Well, no. The Austro-Hungarians will be next. The Italians have a fairly large fleet though, so we'll have to see how long this takes to mop up. Hope that wasn't the best they have to offer. Their torpedoes are definitely something to be concerned about. 3 ships lost, damaged battlecruiser for the loss of 12 Italian ships. We hunted them all down. It was worth the hunt. 5 battleships, 3 cruisers. I think we outmatched them. A thick fog hangs over the Mediterranean, almost as a portent of the Italian doom to come. Fleet of Yamatos and the big boy, the Emperor class, is making an appearance here. And we are having crazy issues trying to get our destroyers to not crash into each other. The Emperor class was going way faster than I expected, and she rammed into the back of the Yamatos. We have a contact directly ahead. We have no idea what it is. Oh, that synchronized fire from the battleships is just glorious. Pity they can't stay in a line. Taking the Emperor out wide. She has very heavy rear arrangement. So we'll present a broadside and then we'll get those guns barking. A couple of our fast destroyers, 37 knotters. I'm not able to get the formation to work today. Some lessons learned from the last battle were the Italians have pretty long range and fast torpedoes. So we have to keep in mind that we may take some damage if we're a little bit impetuous. That warship is pretty close. We've got our destroyer screen up. Line abreast behind the Emperor. Unusual formation, but we're going to try some different stuff. At least, you know, they're sort of shielding each other from torpedo attack. Only the closest ship is at risk. Big hits there on the cruiser. 14-inch guns on them. That's pretty... The Emperor is on fire. She's taken a hit to the bow. Destroyers pulling up the rear of this battle cruiser. Well, we know they're cruisers. The game likes to throw different designations at you. Judging by their size, we have contact with the enemy destroyers. Bit of a wide arrangement, getting the torpedo tubes ready. Looks like we have fish out here on the Onami. Amagiri turning away. Her fish are out and tracking well on this cruiser here. 3 hits, 4 hits, 5 hits, 6 hits, 7 hits. 6,000 damage. Total of 13 hits in just a short space of time. That cruiser is going to the bottom, and those fish may sail behind and hit the rear formation. Usagumo turning away before she takes a hit to the starboard side. There are torpedoes everywhere, and at this zoom level I cannot see them. Aside from the warning, looks like our ships are safe in the back line. Oh, that's a bit close. Very close. Tracking across the nose. Ooh. We are leading some torpedoes back to our formation. At 37 knots, these torpedoes are still faster than us, so they are dangerous. First of the Italian cruisers is sunk due to extensive fire. Second now, it's blown up. Flash fire there. Well, there are a lot of torpedoes heading towards our battleships, and we are sailing right towards their line. We need to take evasive action. Cannot afford for the Emperor to be hit. Looks like she already has been hit. She is flooding in the midsection. Turning away, we're pretty safe, I think, from those. But that final torpedo spread coming may hit the Yamatos behind the Emperor. Oh, they might be okay. If they hurry up. Sea State giving us a slower top speed. I think the Banneroo is going to take that. Oh, it's going right behind the stern. Close. Wait! We've seen starboard torpedo! Ah! Another midship hit to the Emperor. That one came out of the gloom like a bat out of hell. See, as I was saying at the start of the battle, Italian torpedoes are something to worry about. Fortunately, our ships are fairly sturdy. We have good pumps. I think we have a problem. Our ship is dead in the water. Damage control teams have got the flooding under control, but we've taken, I think, a very big hit to the boiler room. So this is not great. any torpedoes come now, we are doomed. Trying to get underway, but our acceleration is just abysmal. Trying to diagnose. Look at the acceleration is horrendous. And I have a feeling that we've taken a major hit to the boiler room. And yeah, we're crippled. The boiler room directly below the tower is half flooded. And it's seriously affecting our acceleration. We have none. I mean, it's a heavy ship. And it is due for a refit. It hasn't seen much action, but technology has progressed pretty far. Destroyers are just taking the fight to the enemy. They need to keep them away from the Emperor. I'm not worried about losing the fight. I'm just worried about more torpedoes coming out of the mist. And with the Emperor having no way to maneuver, she is literally a sitting duck. A sitting goose. Because she's still got some bite. And I think that's the last of the Italian cruisers. We've got maybe a light cruiser coming out of the mist now. Oh, big hit there. That's alright. She'll make it home. Maybe not. Usagumo. Hard starboard. Oh, this is going to be tight. The ship managing to dodge it just. Okay, we're moving at a more respectable speed, but it took a long time to get to that. Fortunately, she has a heavy rear arrangement, so we're able to pull ourselves away at a medium pace. Yeah, we need to upgrade. We've got natural boilers. Our Yamatos have moved off to press the enemy, to take the pressure off the Emperor class. That is something to consider. They were still within torpedo range. That is scary. Like, we have a fairly large navy with very expensive battleships, and we can't afford to lose them to a fish. Vittorio Veneto will not be making it home. Oh, catastrophe on the high seas. The Yeizakura. Flash fire in the rear turret, sealing the fate of the ship. We used her to scout out these smoky cruisers, and unfortunately, she's going to the bottom. Vengeance for the Seikura. And victory for Japan. Significant losses. We lost one destroyer. Got ourselves a battleship duel. Somehow, the game decided that one of my battleships was just by itself again. It is more of an even matchup because I can't be a dog bastard with my torpedo tactics. And the Shinyo has taken a fairly big hit, so we're trying to close the distance. Pretty unremarkable fight. 8-inch secondaries. Come on, guys. You can see them. One hit at that range. Casemate's doing a better job. We're taking big hits. I'm getting a bit worried for the Shinyo. And the Terrible. Going toe-to-toe. He's got 12.5-inch guns. And we have 13-inch armor belts, so that's why he's pushing so hard close. He needs to be close to pen us. We have the bigger guns, but much slower fire rate. His armor belt managing to block those 14-inch guns. Damage control teams are doing well, getting the fire in the fore section of the ship under control. Just in time to take another brutal broadside from the Terrible. This is going to be a knife fight. We may as well ram him. Alright, he's turning full broadside now. We've got an opportunity here to penetrate the belt. But we're also angling up our own belt. Not great. Looks like he's going to get the first shots in, and then we will fire with a reply. And here's the hoping that our armor belt can hold on the Shinyo. 12.5-inch guns. Minor contact. Our 14s are reloaded. Give the order to fire, sir. Oh, minimal damage, but now he's turning away. This is a good for us. So we will straighten up, match his line, angle our belt a bit more, and now we'll get some juicy shots into his rear armor belt. Though it's going to take some time. He's going to get probably another 2 shots off with the 12.5-inch, but he's masking up the 4 guns. So perhaps, nope, straightening up for his shots. Just the rear gun able to get an angle. We've blocked that 12.5-inch shell bouncing off the belt into the sea. And any moment now, our big guns will be loaded. I may work on the fire rate of the Yamatos at the next upgrade. I did say I wasn't going to refit them again, but they are very useful ships. I'm glad I made them. They're really the bread and butter. Respectable displacement. Fairly fast. Besides the crazy secondary gun arrangement, they're a pretty good standard type battleship, I guess you could call it. We know how they're going to react and perform across all of our fleets. The Terrible is running away now, and we're going to give chase. I think we're much faster. We have lost our spotter's nest. Trying to get the ship around before the 14s are loaded. But if you keep the maneuver steady, they can work it out anyway. We just don't want to turn faster than our gun can traverse. We've got full access to their rear. She's been so kind to present it to us. And we're going to present our undamaged side to the Terrible. Oh, she's sinking. Shot through the rear. The money shot, 8,000 damage. Destroyer Akigumo smells blood. And so she's gone to find it. Her deadly arsenal on their way. The Italian cruiser has no hope. Already brutally damaged. She shall numb herself in the cold waters of the Mediterranean. 6 hits there, 8,000 damage. Goodbye, Italian cruiser. The Italians are now in a dire position with their fleet smashed against the rocks of Sardinia. The Italians have gotten rid of their admiral leader. Goodbye, Pietro. And welcome, Umberto. Let's see if you can do better. I'm Commander Tyrael. This is Ultimate Admiral's Dreadnought. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have plenty more content coming this year. Until then, goodbye.